Earth, once a beautiful planet, is now ground zero for tragedies. With each tragedy we learn something. We find out that the world is not as we previously thought. And humanity grows, becomes more desensitized, to the point demons and aliens barely affect us. With every tragedy comes a new monster. Something to haunt one person may not haunt another. And the world goes on. Though the world is not as we expected, we learn to accept this new norm of monsters. And we feel we can predict each tragedy before it happens, judging by the monsters we've already encountered. But no, you can't predict anything like this. That's something humanity would learn if it only pulled back the curtain and expanded the universe. Every culture has their belief of how the universe began. But this one, given all the monsters, all the aliens, all the demons, and all the masked killers, it probably won't surprise you that this world began out of a mistake. The universe was created by an ancient being known only as Maturin, a creature that takes the form of a wise turtle. At one point, he had a stomachache and vomited out the universe. Yes, that's how the universe began. But Maturin values creation. Instead of being ashamed of his mistake, he instead tried to manipulate it, create life, create something beautiful. But of course, wherever the pure embodiment of good and creation goes, an embodiment of hunger and evil will follow. A being you may know as Pennywise, but really its true name is only It. Some other cultures call it the Deadlights, or the Evil One. There's no true name. Its truest name is purely It. And this creature latched itself onto that universe, onto its most populated planet, Earth. And every 27 years it rises again to feed on the life that Maturin created. With something like Pennywise running around the universe, Maturin had to create something, a symbol of good, a place to remind people that no matter how dark things get, there is light at the end of the tunnel. But he had to create something opposite as well. For people who may not deserve to see that light. A place that deep down, despite all the good he has done, Maturin hopes to one day banish Pennywise. He created heaven and hell. Hell was more of a prison, where heaven was a reward. But of course, Maturin was distracted with Pennywise. He needed a creature to decide. He needed a judge, a jury, and an executioner in one creature. Someone to decide who deserves the reward of peace and who deserves the punishment of eternal damnation. Despite his reputation in some cultures as a creature of evil, Death, or the Grim Reaper if you prefer, is in fact as merciful of a creature as his grim responsibilities will allow. He does not take pleasure in banishing souls to hell. He does, however, in sending them to heaven, a place he will never get to see, as he is trapped in the land of purgatory. A place you will go to decide. A divine courtroom, if you will. Death hopes to one day see it. But with his responsibilities, the job Maturin forced on him, he knows he will never get to see it. The creature can travel anywhere. Any soul needs to see him. But, however, he does not want false hope. He does not want to travel a universe he'll never get to experience. So he stays in purgatory, waiting for the souls to die themselves, then to come see him. Before he banishes them, it's nice to have a conversation. The only piece of interaction that the Grim Reaper will ever receive. Usually it's the souls who end up in heaven who have actual conversations with this poor creature. However, sometimes the decision to send people to hell isn't always in Death's control. Sometimes Maturin has to make that decision himself. Angels of heaven can fall, become villains. Things that both Maturin and Death never saw coming. So, they send them to hell to contain their anger. But sometimes, hell spits something back. Call him whatever you want. Lucifer, the devil, Satan, you know who he is. When he was sent down to hell, his rage tore him apart and turned him into the monstrosity you see before you. His anger at Maturin, his anger at heaven, hell couldn't even contain it, and chose him to be its ruler. Now, Maturin had two monsters to worry about. But this creature could create life, and he was using it to wage a war against heaven. A war that would never ever end. And the life he created, so twisted. He created armies of hellspawn, sent a mysterious puzzle box to Earth, with the intention of creating more soldiers. A box that's even capable of opening heaven's gates, as well as hell's. Both at the same time. And finally, it created a second in command. A creature similar to Pennywise, that takes the form of a clown. Though nowhere near as powerful as Pennywise. The devil was ready for his war. Heaven geared up their own soldiers, redeemers. But the war would never end. And the devil, he was more interested in Earth than he ever would be in heaven, creating his own monsters, even as a way to prove himself to Maturin, monsters that could possibly snuff out Pennywise, before killing Maturin themselves. The devil would contaminate Maturin's precious Earth. The devil would either directly manipulate events, or just create monsters himself, such as vampires and werewolves. Humanity, they didn't know what hit them. Lucifer would continue to manipulate events even into modern day, creating, well, basically all the monsters you know. Every spirit, every killer, every single alien he brought to Earth. All of it could be led back to him. So, Maturin and Death, they decided that the angels of heaven, this was out of their control. They needed a night on Earth. They had to gift a man immortality to deal with these monsters. And then they found it. Originally a teacher, Professor Abraham Van Helsing. Yes, the Van Helsing was gifted immortality, with the sole purpose of hunting down and eliminating these monsters, while Maturin focused on tracking down Pennywise. He hunted down many monsters, impressed even Death. His first case was the Headless Horseman, and many, many more would come after that. However, circulating through hell, there was a prophecy that one day, Lucifer will attempt to make another monster. However, he instead created an unlikely ally for both Maturin and Death. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. we still have many, many monsters to get through before this. This prophecy took eons to fulfill, and Earth had to deal with many things. Aliens, serial killers, demons, ghosts, before this hellish protector ever came down to Earth. So let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. The universe is a big place after all, and we're not done expanding.